Hello, everybody. This is Noah and John, and we are from UrbanDigs, and it is Friday. So you're going to get your weekly Manhattan market update. John, let's get right to it. I'm looking at supply still low, 47.57. Show me that chart.
Yes, it is, Noah. That's another 2% down from the week before. And if you have been watching this for the last few months, you're going to know that that's exactly what I say when we talk about supply. It is lowering. And today or this week, I suppose, no exception.
Yeah, and we have been talking about supply for the last 3+ weeks. We try to be early on all these trends to give you the message of the markets before it hits the mainstream so that you can convey these messages to your clients. And that is a situation worth monitoring. We'll get into that in more detail, Johnny. Let's pivot to Manhattan demand, pending sales 4307. Show me that chart.
So pending sales is a different animal altogether. It sort of looked like it was bouncing around the bottom here. It touched 4,300 and now it's back around 4,300. So it hasn't quite broken through that level, but it's very close. It's really sideways at this point.
Yeah, I mean, considering where we are and in the cycle of the season right now, I mean, you got to think that the listing season first comes on. The contracts don't really start to rise until later, Johnny. So the fact that that is actually even hanging on, I think, is impressive. And when you put those two together, supply and pending sales, and look at that market pulse, here's what that chart looks like. And this is a liquidity sell side signal that is going on right here, right now, for anyone that's willing to listen. And when I say liquidity sell signal, I'm not talking about price action, Johnny. What I'm talking about is I think sellers are going to see a change of what has been going on that led to this low inventory environment as the listing wave comes on and reaches its peak in March, April, and May. This is probably going to come straight down, which means sellers, if you've been on the market and you have not sold yet, you want to reduce your price and get ahead of those listings coming on. And if you're a seller that is thinking about coming on in March or April, I would think about pushing that forward to now, Johnny.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, you always want to be ahead of the curve. And so this is ahead of the curve right here.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go back over here. Let's go to the weeklies on UrbanDigs, Johnny. Let's see what that is telling me right over here. Shifting right now to 1 week. Supply 294, just a tiny little dip. Show me that chart.
It is a tiny little dip. I mean, last week at 296, so we're down 2 units from the week before. A little bit less than 300, but I mean, listen, all supply is good supply at this point.
Right, exactly. And that's going to probably rise, right? You're going to see this rise from 300 to probably 350 to 400 as we go into February, as we go into March, as we go into April. How far we go is going to be really, really important here because I have a point to make, and I'll show you a chart later on, is I do not think we're going to see that supply that we saw last year, which was a normalization year, making up for the lack of supply in 2020. So if anyone's expecting 2,500 listings to come on the market again at the peak, I don't think that's going to happen. So we got to keep an eye on these 1 week trends, and we'll show you as it happens real time. Johnny, let's shift to contract sign. 1 week, 233. That's jumping. Show me that chart.
Yeah, 233. So it's still below that magical 300 number that we somehow like to think is the busy number for Manhattan. But, 233 is not that bad for an early January week. It's, usually this time of year is somewhat similar to sort of the lull of summer, I suppose. So 233 is a good number. It signals to me that demand remains robust out there.
Yeah, and I have the exact same interpretation. And now let's go back to that chart room, and I want to break down monthly new supply really quick. And I want to show you guys something. We're going to take a look at this chart, and I'm going to break it down by 3 years. And what you're looking at here is the orange line is the historical number of new listings coming on the month. Every single month based on like a 10-year average. The blue line is the print. And my point is this right here, guys. This is what I want to point out. 2,344 listings we peaked last year, 1,791 here, 2,179. I don't expect that to happen again. That to happen again. And if we look at January, the January right here, the orange, 1,303, that's what we're supposed to get. We're supposed to get 1,300. And if you look at the peak, look at April 2021, 1,662. That's what we're supposed to get, right? So like when I look at the fact that last April, we brought 2,300 listings on, 700 more than the average. And I ask myself, is that going to happen again this year? I don't think so. So I think the market is not really adjusted to the fact that we're going to go back to more seasonal listing flow now that we're getting out of the pandemic and we're done normalizing. How is that going to affect supply, John?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's sort of a 3-month long question. You have to wait several months to get this answered because as it looks right now, you fast forward to say, March, April, May at the peak, you start looking at around that time, there could be a real supply situation going on.
Hey, John, I want to show you something. I want to go back to the chart room and I want to make our users, right, professional agents, aware of a chart that is often overlooked because it's at the bottom of the chart room. I'm going to scroll down to sales over the asking price, John. And I'm going to click this chart and it's kind of interesting. It's a pie chart. It's different. We usually don't do this, but it's telling us something. And it's telling us something about how much the percentage of sales are selling at or above ask. And I like to combine those things to say how much is selling at and above ask, kind of a thing. And when I look at that trend, Johnny, and I look over here, let me just try to mark this out. Here's Q3 right over here, right? If I add up at full ask and above full ask, that adds up to about 23%, give or take, right? And if I add up the latest readings, that's now above 25. It's going into the 26% territory. So we're slowly shifting to a marketplace that is tighter, where the bid and the ask spread is tighter and more listings are selling at or above ask. Is that a function of demand? Is it a function of sellers being reasonable? I don't know. It just is.
Yeah, it's a great point, especially when you look at what the fourth quarter of 2020 was. I mean, it's roughly 10%. So the number of units selling at or above ask has essentially more than doubled over the year period. So, you know, to take this back to the original discussion about getting ahead of the curve, if you're thinking about selling, you know, I'm not saying go crazy with your price here, but chances are that you're going to get, if you're priced right, that you're going to get your price, look to be much higher now than they were last quarter or even a year ago.
Yeah, and that's what happens when supply goes down so much and pending sales stays very high, seasonably high at the same time. And we're starting to see this inventory crunch. So that's what I think is going on. And I think sellers just need to realize that in this type of market, okay, this is a liquid market. There is a bid. There is a marketplace right now. So if you put your listing out there at a price and do not get activity, the market is speaking, right? And you got to ask yourself, well, is the market bad or is my price bad? And I'm here to tell you the market is not bad. There is a market and we are liquid, and that's what's going on. So thank you, John Walker, for pulling up all those charts. I'm Noah Rosenblatt. We are both from UrbanDigs. If you want any questions, we got answers. Please go to our forum right down here. If you want any of the reports we talked about today, it'll be right in this section over here. Other than that, this has been your weekly Manhattan market update, and we'll catch you next time.